What's up, guys? Emily here with Emlovz. If you're an Asian male and you are struggling in the dating scene, we're going to talk about it today in this reaction video to the Fung brothers. We need to talk about dating as Asian males. My client sent this to me. I think it's a great conversation piece. I think we should be talking about this because if you're dating as an Asian male and you're feeling invisible, that sucks and it shouldn't be the case. So let's talk about it. Let's dive in.
Dating as an Asian man in America, to put it simply, is not fun. You guys agree with this statement? Welcome everybody to the Hot Pop Boys. Filipino-American actor Mike Cabellon has just written a viral article detailing the struggles of him dating in the Midwest. And a lot of people have a lot of responses about it.
Mike kind of dropped a banger. For today.com, usually they got like cake recipes on that site. People are like looking for cake recipes. Oh my gosh, I had no idea this is what you guys were going through.
Wow, being an Asian guy sucks.
It's a little bit of like an internal discussion that some Asian guys like having with each other, not even all Asian guys. And he kind of just put it out on USA Today. And it was really interesting because the internet, it went viral and it had a lot of couple different responses from different camps of Asian guys. Micro, mid, macro thinkers. And one was Asian masculinity on the micro side, right? And then there was the happier abroad crowd in the middle. And then there was like the Asian identity, almost like narrative geopolitical one in the very macro. So I don't know. It was really interesting. Let's break them all down. And at the end, we'll give our own opinions on what Mike Cabellon said.
Yeah, and we want to break it down from the micro, mid to macro because we feel like that this is an aspect that is missing in a lot of these discussions. And trust me, we've had this discussion about Asian male dating statistics a lot on our channel.
I think this discussion's been going on for like 25 years, and maybe we've been talking about for like 7 years.
All right, so shout out to Mike. He wrote the article, sparked the discussion. Let's get into it. Guys, the micro. This is where most people spend the time thinking about how to solve this problem, right? Getting buff, changing your hairstyle, changing your clothes.
Jawline.
First of all, what's up with all them shoes in the background, though? They're cool.
Abs, money,
just
Rolex.
Go approach a lot of women and be very confident. It's micro is based around yourself. What can you change? You as a person, make yourself better.
And this is where on the forums, they were really digging into Mike Cabellon, being like, bro, don't blame it on being Asian, bro, because you're like short, super baby-faced, you know, geeky clothes, bro. You like kind of a Geek Squad type dude. Don't blame it on being Asian, bro. Take the responsibility for yourself. It's all about individualism.
I do kind of agree with this. So I do believe that race has an impact on dating, but yo, you got to have the right clothes. You got to come with the confidence. These are all things I teach in my program. And so I understand both sides, but you don't want to use your race as just a crutch. That being said, I know that it's a real thing. So I'm not trying to discount your experience, but you really want to be careful not to take it and make it into a crutch that holds you back.
Be rugged. And that is actually, it's not wrong. I don't think it's a fully holistic perspective. But basically, they were saying, Andrew, that Mike Cabellon was not an attractive product to women. So don't blame it on being Asian.
You mean like just to all women, he wasn't as attractive. However, his look is more of just that kind of like comedic writery look. So it plays in a scene, but we're going to get to it. It wasn't the scene that he was in.
No. It's very Second City, Upright Citizen Brigade. Kind of like a Jake and Amir, Mo Rocca, I guess like beta white guy, cute look. Maybe that's like the equivalent lane he's going for. But here's the truth, Andrew. You can't just look at something that worked for a white guy and then try to be the Asian version of that in any city in America and have it work.
Yeah.
It is hyper contextual, guys. And, you know, I will say, and I'm not saying that I'm defending all the alpha Chad bro, Kevin Wynn jawline types because I don't look like that. I got a baby face, but I will say that that's more conventionally able to get women in any city. Whereas the other ones, it's more like industry specific. Do you have that hipster writer, Williamsburg, Silver Lake City type town in the Midwest? Probably not, because the Midwest simply maybe outside of like Northwestern.
Yeah, totally depends on where you live. I think that there is, from my experience working with men for 10 years, I have seen it's a lot easier in bigger cities like New York, Los Angeles, San Francisco, where you have more of a melting pot where people are like used to being around each other. I could tell you it is definitely harder in the Midwest for my Midwest Asian clients, for sure.
University in Chicago doesn't have that world. So if you're trying to play that world, and not only that, you're the B-grade Asian version, that's a pretty tough play. So that's on the micro level, right? That's why guys just say, be this buff alpha Chad bro. But here's the thing, Andrew. It is true that not everybody has the base level genetics to do the Kevin Wynn thing.
David, you said you have a baby face, but it's got a lot of hair on it now, which is different. That's different. It's a baby face with a beard. So now it's a baby beard. Kind of a combo.
Yeah, yeah. I'm going from baby face to more like the club in Shanghai baby face.
Crazy reference. No one will understand it. The last thing about the micro is also what you are looking for, because there can be a crazy misalignment if you're a guy that works in IT, but you only want the girls who are popping on IG.
Yeah, I don't know, man. If you know like C++, but you only want the girls with the OF, that is a difficult match. I'm not saying it's impossible. It depends on how good of a, software engineer you are. You getting money. But anyway, it just basically, guys, there's a lot of things even in the micro where some guys, Andrew, professionally make a living, whether it's on YouTube or personal camps, on coaching guys in the micro. So literally that's clothes, hair, body, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, moving into the mid, this is probably the most overlooked aspect of changing your dating life as an Asian guy, because you just move cities, or you move to a different part of the city, or you move to a different country, and everything can shift.
Dude, we have a friend who grew up in a Korean suburb. And, he's mixed Latino and Korean. And growing up, he's not getting a lot of love from the more traditional Korean women because they don't really see him as Korean. They're probably looking more for, like, Korean guys,
You're
right?
not one of us.
Yeah. he's only half of them, right? And but then he went to college just 15 miles south. He went to a college campus. Everybody's young. They're more open-minded. It's a mixed, more mixed Asians. And he was like the K-pop star of his group.
Right. He went from not being Korean enough to being the Korean K-pop hunk that all the ladies were starved for. Literally 15 miles south, moved from high school to college. Bro, that's the same city, same state. Even within our city that we grew up in, Andrew, there was a school where people were like horses in the back, like on some like Marlboro Wranglers type vibe, like wrestling horses and stuff. And then you went over a little bit and people had like 6 headbands with the pinwheel, and everybody looked like XXL Source, like it was so hip hop and it was so street, and like Swagapino over there. It really depended. Which school were you about to be more successful with women at, or just even socially? Man, it depends on the narrative of that specific high school.
Yeah, I know people always ask us because they know that we lived in LA and New York, and they're always like, dude, what's like better for Asian guys, man? LA or New York, they're both really big cities. I'm like, guys, both cities are great, but it depends on your personality and what you want and how you can handle the city and how do you fit into the city? How do you connect to the city? If you fit in more with LA, you like to drive, you want that chill, beachy vibe and all the different types of Asians, and there's just like everybody spread out, go to LA. But if you can handle the intensity of New York is cool. So it's as simple as that, where it's just changing your context can change so much.
Yeah. And it's like for some guys who don't want to think about either the micro or the macro, and they just want to stay in the mid, which is sort of like, I don't got to think about how buff I am and how much am I fitting these like Western standards, you know what I mean? And then on the macro, it's like, I don't want to think about like global geopolitics or narratives or whether people trust us or mistrust us or think we're evil or not. I could just move to Toronto, Vancouver, SGV, Hawaii, and not have to think about any of these things, because or of course Asia, where these are just hyper Asian contexts where it operates more like Singapore essentially than anything else.
Dude, I even know Asian guys on YouTube that are living a happy life over in like South America.
Right.
It's very interesting. It just matters just like where you feel like you get a fresh start, where you feel like you're seen as an equal, or if not, possibly an elevated product, and there's not that many spaces. So everybody's just gonna, figure it out. But trust me, the mid, a lot of people don't talk about it. Moving, changing your environment.
Or even just changing your industry. Some guys, it's like weird because finance guys, they party more, right? But the finance world is also more, I guess, pro-white and less pro-Asian, right? But then you could go into the medical field, which is not as lit and party filled, but it's very pro-Asian. People aren't gonna be making the same jokes and comments that they're making in the finance world. So now you have to make the reads based on like where you feel more comfortable. Maybe you find a mix, you go to fintech, which is like a hybrid between the two worlds. Basically, guys, you just got to understand the IQ here, because I don't like to see the blanket statements that I see online. They just seem like way too far this way or way too far that way. There's no nuance, but the answer's usually in the middle. Anyway, we're going to move final to the last bird's eye view, Andrew, the macro. These are like people on AZN Identity. They're almost consumed with like the macro movement of Pangea breaking apart into different continents. These are like geopolitical rankings, global narratives. Is the yellow man evil? Is it back to the Genghis days? But is it pro-Genghis or is it anti-Genghis? Are we part of the Golden Horde or are we part of the Nemoidians? Or how are people seeing our yellow golden skin?
Or are you part of the Hallyu K-pop wave? Guys, this is where this comes in. Listen, K-pop being such a big wave right now, it can affect your daily life, especially if you're Korean or Korean passing and you want to go into that look and get that in that lane.
Yeah, we know a guy who wasn't like really doing much, and then he really doubled down on the K-pop lane. He's on TikTok right now. He's killing it.
Guys, it's a different game. Also, it's kind of like, let's say, you know, China's becoming more of an economic power, so a lot more non-Asians are taking Mandarin class. Obviously, if you learn the language of a person, you might be more open to meeting them or hanging out with them. Obviously, that increases options for that. I know
a lot of guys look at Eastern European women because they seem to be more open to Asians.
Guys, these are all macro trends that you can actually not impact yourself as an individual, but you can ride the wave.
Yeah, and I think it's really interesting because, to be honest, guys, you need all three levels. And I do think, by the way, macro thinking, like media representation is a lower form than like global narratives. Right. But I'll say this, to sum it all up, between the micro, which is like just focusing on yourself and what you're doing in the gym and on your like online Hinge profile, looking the best possible, to the mid, which is like the 300 to 500 people around you that you see every day, maybe that you don't even talk to, but that you just visually see. And then obviously to the
where does he live that he sees 300 to 500 people a day? I don't know about that. My software engineers aren't seeing 300 to 500 people a day.
Macro, which is like, we're talking about the movement of like billions of peoples here and very powerful people. Andrew, everybody online that is an Asian guy giving advice to another Asian guy tends to focus on just one of these three things, but they actually all matter.
Dude, I want to tell a couple stories, guys. Remember when Michael Jordan was the greatest basketball player ever, and then he quit to play baseball? He changed the sport, and he figured out, no, that wasn't my sport. I'm not that good at it. He didn't even make the major leagues. So changing sports can be better or worse. Now I have a success story. Yultron was an Asian guy rapper out of LA, and he wasn't getting a lot of shows as a rapper. Maybe he wasn't the greatest rapper, but he had a cool style, but really he just was not popping as a rapper. He switched and did EDM music, and he's a DJ now, and he's rocking crowds of like 10,000.
He didn't even have to swap out all his drum kits on his like production software.
But he looks the same. He didn't change his look. He just changed the game. He changed his environment. He changed what he was doing, and he changed his platform.
Dude, you see it all the time in music, and you see it all the time in restaurants. Like sometimes a restaurant is too fusiony to be in the authentic area. But dude, I'll just say this real quick. Hopefully this is going over people's heads. Wagamama, Andrew, is a really hyper-fusion Asian New York restaurant. Every time it is opened up in a diverse neighborhood where there's a lot of minorities, it always fails. The other day, I was there at Wagamama's in Midtown. It was packed. You could not even get in. There was so many white people trying to get a bowl of ramen next to pad thai.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, it's the restaurants, music. It's just about the packaging. It's so hyper contextual to the neighborhood you're in and the execution.
Guys, think about, I think, and I don't want people like not to think about it in like a weird, like problematic way. I'm just saying, think of dating. It's like any other thing that you can study or figure out. There are skills that you can develop in dating, you know, or there's like skills that you can develop, or you can change the game. You can tweak the game. You can change the way you play the game. You can change where you play the game. Guys, like there are so many solutions to attack this problem if you find it a problem.
Yeah, I think the game is changing to the point of Mike Cabellin at the end of his article saying BTS is helping change a lot of larger narratives, and there's some trickle down. And, you know, obviously some people are closer to the blast zone than others. I will say this. I think that a lot of life and achieving difficult things for people who aren't meant to do certain things, it's a lot like basketball. Isaiah Thomas has to work a lot harder and have much higher basketball IQ than JaVale McGee. Because JaVale McGee just got built with a lot of born competitive advantages that Isaiah Thomas doesn't have. He's got to make, you know, Isaiah's got to even think about center of gravity and where to bump people on their hip just to move them out of the way, just to create barely some daylight to get his jumper off. JaVale doesn't have to think about any of that.
Right.
But it doesn't mean that IT can't be a better player than JaVale, but it meant that he had to put in that much more work into the gym and have that much more IQ coaches. And what I see sometimes online when Asian guys give other guys IQ coaching on like social reads, it's just very middle tier.
Yeah,
because it's not holistic.
Also, when you're giving advice to people online, you don't know that much about them. Like sometimes they don't even know how you look. People are just writing one thing and then asking for a bunch of advice. So it's just strangers trying to analyze another stranger they don't know and give them advice.
Specifically on Reddit.
Yeah,
right?
and I'm just saying sometimes like you just have to give them the overview. Guys, these are the factors that are involved. Micro, who you are, how you look, and what you want. Number 2, mid, it's just your environment. Where are you around? Different environments provide different contexts for you. It can literally change how you're perceived. And then macro, what are these larger waves and trends that are at play for you or against you? Figure it out. Just think about it this way. That's all I got to say, guys.
I got to give props to Mike Cabellon for writing the article. You know, I think that he just brought it to the forefront. You know, I don't know fully what his motivations were, but I think ultimately, as embarrassing as it is, I guess for like other people to see the internal Asian male struggles, it's probably more better if it sparks more discourse, because discourse leads to progress, and you just got to get the ball rolling. So that's pretty much my final thoughts on it.
All right, everybody, we're going to close it up here. Thank you so much for watching.
Well, I think this is so important to talk about. I have a lot of Asian male students in my program. I've got a lot of Asian males that have found love in my program. But, you know, this is a real topic for conversation. And why haven't we seen an Asian male represented on The Bachelor, for example? Why is it not shown in the media? You rarely see an Asian male as a main character in a romantic rom-com, you know? And so I think this is a really important conversation to be having. If you're looking for more support on this topic, I help men with this every single day in my coaching program. You can learn more about that in the description below, as well as check out my free masterclass where I give some helpful advice, not specific to Asian males, but we definitely work with this topic in detail in my program, and it's very real. It's very important. We need to be having these conversations and really communicating with each other. And something that I love about my coaching program is that it's a lifetime program. It's you know, we're a family all together. We can have these sensitive conversations and we can really connect with each other, and you can find your group and your people. And so, yeah, getting advice on Reddit is great, but like he said, it's just going to be it's not going to be nuanced. It's not going to be specific to your situation, specific to you. And so if you're looking for support that is really customized to you, where somebody gets to know you and you're a part of the family, and you not only have support from a woman who can see it from the other perspective, and a woman maybe outside of your race. If you're looking to date women outside of your race, I can give you that perspective. But in my coaching program, our students get to talk with each other and share these stories and have that support, because going at it alone, or maybe you don't want to talk about this with your friends or family, you know, you have that support in my program. So check it out. If you want to learn more about that, you can check that out at emlovz.com/book, or you can check out my free masterclass to learn a little bit more about my coaching philosophy and how I may be able to help. I would love to hear from you. If you like this video, if you have something to say on this topic, please let us know in the comments below. This is so important that we start this dialogue or continue this dialogue. Thank you so much for these people for sharing this video and the article that prompted this video. And if you like this video, make sure to like it, subscribe to the channel, follow us on social media, and like I said, leave a comment in the comments below. We would love to hear your thoughts.